Okay, one more day of Eumidian Hatchery content, and then we change decks and we stop playing this nonsense, at least for a little while, because it's really fun. Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for the final part of my three-part series on Eumidian Hatchery. And today, Alan asked for a different take on the deck list. Alan wanted to see a just traditional mono black Pox deck using Eumidian Hatchery. And Alan knew that the deck was going to need a little bit of work. So I'm going to show you Alan's original build, and then I'll show you what we will be playing today, because they're going to be pretty different, even if I'm preserving the core of the two deck lists. So here is what Alan wanted to do. And the core of Pox is obviously smallpox. Well, Alan wanted to play regular-sized Pox as well, which I think is a pretty tough sell in current Legacy. The jump between 2 and 3 mana is pretty big, even if you are using Dark Ritual. And I think Alan's biggest mistake here in terms of deck building is trying to play the Pox of, I would say 10 years ago, but it's probably getting closer to 15 years ago at this point, which makes my bones hurt. Back in the day, Nether Spirit used to be a super reliable thing to do in Pox. And you would just keep bringing back Nether Spirits and Bloodghasts turn after turn after turn, and abuse things like Cabal Therapy with them. And you don't care if you sacrifice your own creature if they just keep coming back anyway. And the deck would often do things like Entomb as well to go and make sure you got your Nether Spirit more consistently. And you could also Entomb for something like Raven's Crime as a source of advantage over time. And the deck used to go and try to do instant speed discard as well. But kind of my problem here is that all of this stuff, I think, does not really keep up with the power creep of Legacy over the last few years. And I think it is so easy for one card like a Tameo or a Murktide Regent or a Barrogoyf to just absolutely take over a game. And I don't think the games are about, I am going to get card advantage with this Nether Spirit over the next 10 turns anymore. I was also asked to not make this deck an Urza Saga deck, which would have been the first change that I made to the deck. I think Urza Saga is a very, very big boon for Pox players, but Alan wanted that old school feel. So I updated this deck, keeping all of this stuff as is, because I think this stuff is all fine, but we had to find some replacements for some stuff around the edges, and then rebuild the sideboard completely. Now, because I can't just turn this into an Urza Saga deck, we're going to try to get a little bit creative, and I'm going to take some of the tech from the previous video. And this is what I ended up with. I think I would like to be a crazy person. I think I would like to try 4 Spellbombs in the main deck. In the post-sideboard games, being able to churn through Spellbombs without really caring actually felt pretty darn good. I didn't have to worry like, oh, do I use this one to stop a Murktide Regent, or do I use this one to save myself versus the reanimation target? I could just expect to find more in any given game. And I'm going to try another card here, Strategic Betrayal, to also clear out the graveyards as well. So I want to be really, really, really good at incidentally removing graveyards while just executing my core game plan. And Alan's deck had Dark Ritual in it, but Liliana was kind of the big thing to power out with Dark Ritual, and I think we need more than that. So I added a couple of Karns to the deck list. I think I am going to just go with 3 over the full 4, even if it does still eat up most of my sideboard. I don't want too many of these, because I am going to be sacrificing some number of my own lands, be that wastelands or like losing a factory in combat, losing things to smallpox. So I don't know that I want to max out on these. So we're going to go for that old school Pox prison feel. Like, we're going to attack our opponent's hand. We're going to throw down an ensnaring bridge. We're going to try to hide behind that. Hopefully, we have enough ways to kill creatures so that, a Tameo repeatedly attacking under our ensnaring bridge doesn't just ruin us or anything like that. As far as the sideboard goes, most of this has to be a Karn tutor package. Most of what's here you'll probably recognize. Karn Silex is probably the spiciest thing that I included here. And it is possible that I can adjust this sideboard further. Like looking at this as I am talking, do I really need surgical as well if I am doing Strategic Betrayal and Spellbomb in the main deck, and I also have access to a 2 durable Tormod's Crypt? Maybe I can adjust these numbers just a little bit. Yeah, what if we did like some Duresses? A few more pieces of interaction versus combo. I don't mind it. We want a few generic things to bring in when our removal spells are not necessarily going to be the best. I like the feel of that. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into some matches here, see how our Pox feels. We'll see if Smallpox plus Wasteland, and we do have the full 4, is enough with Eumidian Hatchery, or if we need to do something else. We'll see if without some life gain, like Barrogoyf, if we still feel like the life loss from Eumidian Hatchery is okay. We do have Urborg to offset that, and we do have 3 Urborgs. It's possible the deck should not be playing Dark Ritual and should just be at something like 27 lands or something like that instead of 24. We'll see how this all fares. Folks, if you need any Magic cards, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order. You always get free shipping. Their customer service is awesome. And if you're going to MagicCon Atlanta and you want to sell them some cards, it is a great experience doing so. I sell them a bunch of stuff at just about any event that I go to. And they even have options where you can check out, you can submit a list to them ahead of time and just kind of drop it off, take your money and go. All right, let's battle. All right, our game starts off with a mulligan from our opponent, and unfortunately, we need to mulligan too. Yeah, I am into this. There is a good chance that I end up discarding this Karn to Liliana if I keep Karn. I'm going to put Karn back, intending to use Wasteland aggressively as a spell. And then I have 3 lands for him and Liliana. You're playing against a whole swarm of bees. Hey, let's not get carried away now. Opponent got carried away. I could die on turn 1. My opponent has not played a land yet. Okay, it appears that my opponent is passing the turn without making a land drop. Well, the important stuff is probably in their deck right now. That was a misplay. That should have been a Eumidian Hatchery. Man, I really hope there's not a Reanimate in their pile. I fucking get got by them if there is. There is a Scalding Tarn. I will get this going now. I can take a land out of your hand with this. Like, I'm getting that fucking cavern. Yeah, but goodbye. Now, we're not done here. I hope my opponent fetches so this Wasteland can become live. Fuck yeah! Turn 1 Doomsday. Not good enough for Pox. So I am absolutely interested in these and this. I absolutely do not care about Innocent Blood. Do not care about Strategic Betrayal. I do not care about Ensnaring Bridge. This cantrips, this is still fine. So I would in theory like to bring in 3 more cards, even if they're not great. Crucible Wasteland is a thing. Nullrod is weird to bring in with spell bombs. Karn Silex, I guess it technically does some things versus like Street Wraith, right? We'll Karn Silex. And then we're in questionable territory. I'm going to play a removal spell in case there's some things like Tameo or Barrogoyfs as a juke. I'll still sort of incidentally hit them with Smallpox. I want to play a couple of things for the juke preemptively. Like, this is not super strong. This is very slow as an answer to creatures. Let's keep a couple of Innocent Bloods. Yes. Opponent's got a fetch land. Basic or not? Not. Alright, we're just fucking going. Full send it, Doomsday. Turn 1, 2 games in a row. There is a question of whether or not I just wasteland my opponent, or whether I go Dark Ritual and try to do Thoughtseize and Smallpox at the same time here. With the big question being, does my opponent have a counter spell in hand to protect this right now? If my Dark Ritual specifically eats a counter spell, it is much worse for me than just playing Wasteland. Alright, let's take a look at this stuff now. Is there anything neat here? Misdirection and Vision Charm. Target player mills for. That's sick. I haven't seen that in a long time. I'll do like a Force of Will count in a second here. Okay, so 1 force, 2 force, 3 force, 4 force. There is no Force of Will. There are some number of dazes in my opponent's deck. It's not a consider LED pile. I think since I know Force of Will isn't there, I'm willing to go for this. Alright, we're in play. So now, the next question becomes, how many misdirections does my opponent have? I think in respect of a misdirection not causing me to Thoughtseize myself, I Smallpox first, which feels very strange. I'm going to discard a Swamp. My opponent discards Dark Ritual. I will now Thoughtseize you. Oh, there was a Daze. That was very greedy on my opponent's end to not take that out. I will take this Brainstorm away from you. You have Underground Sea and Daze remaining. Street Wraith? Battle. The opponent is not playing out Underground Sea, so I can't Wasteland it here. Which is pretty darn inconvenient, because that is what I would like to do. So instead, I will play out the Factory, and that can potentially attack for 3 total damage next turn between these two bodies. No further play from my opponent. Basic Island. I can't Wasteland that. So I suspect that my opponent is about to go Underground Sea into Thassa's Oracle. I imagine the bottom 2 cards of my opponent's library are both Thassa's Oracle. So I think Thoughtseizing doesn't matter, whereas attacking does. If I'm wrong about my opponent's pile and they have more Street Race than I think they do, then this attack is relevant. Send it. Opponent is at 2 and is dead on board, but I expect that I die instead right here. Even if my opponent plays out this Underground Sea, they still have 2 mana to cast this Oracle. Unfortunately for me. GG, we'll try again. Hopefully this time my opponent does not have Doomsday for the 3rd game in a row. On turn 1. Okay, we didn't see any cool jukes there. Innocent Bloods, accordingly, are not great. I could keep them in case they juke back into something. Or I can start doing stuff that looks like this. I think I'll do this over one of them. And I'm not really sure that any of the other cards are all that relevant. This is a fine opening hand. It's not overly exciting, but it's fine. Not gonna throw it back. The hope is that I just stick a turn 1 Liliana of the Veil and I make it difficult for my opponent to accumulate resources. The goal is probably Dark Ritual, Lily, Lily plus, discard this, land drop, Thoughtseize, and Spellbomb the following turn. That's kind of what I am hoping to do. So, does it resolve? It does not. We got a Personal Tutor. That's not too bad. Now I'm going to need another black mana to get to Lily, unfortunately. See what opponent's got. Holy shit, again? That is Dark Ritual Doomsday all 3 games in a row. Swarm of Bees, go buy lottery tickets. You're running hot. Alright, opponent down to 9 life. That is maybe good if I draw the mana for it. It has to be a natural black source next turn, though. So, Thoughtseize you. Take the Ponder. Play a Spellbomb. Pass turn. I'm probably not getting there with Mishra's Factory beats. Him taking a land out of this pile could potentially do stuff. Alright. So, opponent has a Delta in hand. This Ponder is gone. Well, that's pretty good. I guess I'll cast that on my opponent's turn. Disruptor Flute. I'm the greatest of all time. Fox Master, we beat Dark Ritual Doomsday on turn 1, 2 out of 3 times. And as Meatloaf said, Winning with Pox 2 out of 3 times. Ain't bad. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. Okay, we have a fine opening hand here. I've got a Thoughtseize for turn 1. I have either more discard after that or more removal after that. Oh, okay. Not discard on turn 1. We will just attempt to kill ThrabenU immediately. And we succeed. That's great. Very happy about that. This is also a land that my opponent might not be super likely to want to wasteland, which is good because I do need a little bit more mana. Marsh Flats, Underground Sea Gamer confirmed, and a Nethergoyf. I don't think I am ready to Smallpox yet. I am super into this Strategic Betrayal though, and I will pay the life here. This exiles the Nethergoyf and takes the graveyard with it to make it harder to cast a Murktide Regent. It wrecked. Anyway, I'm looking at my 2 removal spells plus Ensnaring Bridge here. Relatively happy with what's going on. I don't love my Urborg getting wastelanded, obviously. That is objectively just not good for me. But I have a lot of mana in this deck. Opponent just taking the emergency cantrip. And I will keep this ticking up. I will happily Thoughtseize you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're actually pretty close to Murktide Regent here. I just answer it for 1 mana. I think I'm going to take the Nethergoyf. That increases the chance that my opponent does nothing with their next turn, which would be fine. Opponent very quickly puts that card on top. I will pass the turn here, and then my opponent probably will go and play their Murktide Regent, at which point I Innocent Blood it for 1 mana. That is a ThrabenU. I am fine Innocent Blooding that for 1 mana, and I am fine just taking 1 damage here. Keep this ticking up. Second land. If I Smallpox, it gets rid of Murktide Regent and ThrabenU at the same time. Alright. Twist my arm. I'm going to discard Hymn to Turok here. It's not currently doing anything. You know, I'm going to sacrifice Eumidian Hatchery and make 5 friends. My friends are here to party. Look at them. Those look like little party friends if I've ever seen them. There is another Goyf there. Land, Artifact, Creature. There's only 3 types in there right now. I guess I can't cast Strategic Betrayal anyway. Opponent's at 12. Opponent passes the turn. This is probably an uncastable spell, like a Daze or something like that. Opponent's at 7. I don't think I cast this, oddly, because I think some amount of the time it puts an instant into the graveyard. You can keep it. Wasteland is fine. That doesn't do anything. My own Wasteland. I'll send in for 5. Put my opponent to 2. I'll drop my own Wasteland and pass the turn. I could take out my opponent's graveyard there, and like that would be fine. Yeah, you can see what's going on here. I don't care about Nethergoyf coming back. Nethergoyf does not fly. And there is the concession. Pox sure do be poxin' today. So the good news here is that I'm already kind of pre-boarded, right? With a whole bunch of copies of Spellbomb and Ensnaring Bridge and Strategic Betrayal. Like, we are set up for this sort of matchup. I don't know that I'm going to sideboard any cards. I could consider Toxic Deluge as another removal spell. I could consider cutting Hymn to Turok. I could turn Hymn to Turoks into Duresses or Inquisitions just to be lower to the ground. But Hymn hits a Murktide Regent in a way that those cards don't. Hymn is not great when we get into what I'll call the late game here. Once my opponent is hellbent and top decking, it doesn't do anything, and the same is true of Thoughtseize, but it sure does help pave the way for things like Liliana and Ensnaring Bridge to resolve, and those cards are a major pain in the butt. No changes, but like there are some little things that I could do. Like I could play Surgical Extraction, and it would not be embarrassing. This is totally fine. Like, I've got removal spell, I've got smallpox, I've got Thoughtseize to either check or get a counter spell out of my opponent's hand. Like, I'm good with where we're at. Murktide, Consign, and Goyf. Well, I'm gonna take the Goyf. I'm slightly surprised that my opponent kept that. This hand innately doesn't exactly do anything. I think they have better aggressive starts, but maybe they just wanted to keep something that had a lot of land. Alright, there's a Goyf. So if I smallpox here, my opponent can use Consign on my Eumidian Hatchery trigger. I don't really want that to happen. So I think I won't let that happen. I'm just going to go ahead and play Innocent Blood. Goodbye, Goyf, and I will probably end up taking one for Eumidian Hatchery to just let that tick up. And then maybe sometimes my opponent plays Murktide Regent here. Not this time. Pick up. These cards are great. I know most of my opponent's cards. I think I am into attempting to resolve Liliana here. Liliana is in play. This is fantastic. So I will go ahead and plus. The goal is to get this Consign out of my opponent's hand and then do this stuff. I have 4 mana next turn, which is 2 of these. But then that gets rid of my Smallpox, which I would really like to do. I think I'm going to get rid of Innocent Blood. Ooh, we got rid of Murktide Regent instead. It's an Orcish Bowmasters. Sure, that can pressure my Liliana. The extra bodies are pretty darn good here, but it's not killing Liliana, and that's a really big deal. Ooh, it is killing Liliana. Sure, that's very good. Those were insane back-to-back draws for my opponent. So now I need to thread this needle on this Consign. I think that means Smallpox is happening. I want to pay the life. Cast Smallpox. I think I'm keeping Ensnaring Bridge. That means getting rid of Lily. My opponent can discard their Murktide Regent and then consign this trigger. Then my hope is that I stick Ensnaring Bridge and life is good. Alright, so there's the fetch. There's the consign. And then hopefully I have Ensnaring Bridge and go Hellbent, and I don't worry about, the Nether Goyf that is coming a few turns from now. Alright, land drop is great. Coast is clear. There's my own land drop and Ensnaring Bridge, and I'm Hellbent. This buys so much time. Game's not over. Brazen Borrower exists. That's just another land drop. Castle Locthwain. Probably not going to activate that in the face of multiple Orcish Bowmasters. That's a lot of life loss. But it's interesting a little while from now. Not immediately. Wasteland is fine. I don't think that my opponent should use that Wasteland. Alright, they agree, because there are better targets in my deck than the Castle Locthwain. The factory is not immediately threatening under Ensnaring Bridge, by the way. Cameo is annoying. I would like to find a removal spell for that. Looks like my opponent is going to escape their Nether Goyf. That's fine, that's not attacking right now. I'll cast a Dark Ritual. That's all. Anyway, if you're wondering why Ensnaring Bridge isn't a huge part of the meta anymore, there's a lot of reasons. But in recent Legacy, this is maybe the biggest one. It is a disaster if my opponent turns that into a Planeswalker. You find Kaito? Okay. I was gonna say, not ready for a Planeswalker. God damn it. Alright. So, this is a good news, bad news situation. The good news is the Kaito is not attacking again. The bad news is my opponent now has a Surveil 2 machine. Just every turn, Surveil until they find Brazen Borrower. Ponder and Spellbomb go to Graveyard, so then my opponent can redeploy the Tamiyo immediately. Seems good. I mean, I will Smallpox. It doesn't do a ton, but I'll do it. Sacrifice a Swamp. Opponent junks a Brainstorm. That's huge, because Tamiyo. Tamiyo does Tamiyo stuff. Draws. I don't think you're supposed to draw in combat. I think you are supposed to Kaito Surveil 2 and then draw. Nope, not going for the Surveil 2, going for Emblem. Maybe my opponent found Brazen Borrower. There's a Goyf. At the 6 life that I am currently at, I am very dead to this stuff when my opponent does find a Brazen Borrower. Himyu. Absolutely Himyu. Thoughtseize and Daze, neither one of those doing a lot. But my opponent having access to this singular clue every turn is so backbreaking. Yeah, opponent not going the Surveil route. EE for 0. Should have more colors in your deck. You could get rid of Ensnaring Bridge. Deck building problem, obviously. Alright, unfortunately for me, it looks like my opponent finally figured out that they should just turn ThrabenU into a Planeswalker. They saved that clue. And this is not going to be great for me. I can't attack very well through all of these bodies. My opponent has Wasteland, even if I do. Yeah, there we go. ThrabenU goes up. Liliana is a Magic the Gathering card. So yeah, I guess I'll plus. If my opponent has Brazen Borrower, I'm already dead anyway. Yeah. So I just Wasteland this and attack in with all of these bodies plus Kaito. So I don't... Okay, in case it's not clear what I was talking about, when I said it's okay to plus, the exact scenario I was talking about is Petty Theft bouncing Ensnaring Bridge and then discarding my Ensnaring Bridge. So if I'm not dead on board, I might just minus there and take a creature out of play. But since I am dead on board, if they have this, they already win anyway. And so discarding my own Ensnaring Bridge doesn't matter. Okay, I don't think I'm changing anything. I have Disruptor Flute for Karn as a target to answer Planeswalkers. Otherwise, I'm not the best at doing that, and that's okay. You could do some MDFCs in this list if you want to like be able to squeeze in a couple more things that can affect creatures and Planeswalkers. But the life loss is real with the amount of things that I already have that negatively impact my life total. It kind of seems to me like the Planeswalkers are way scarier than the creatures in this matchup. This is fine. I think I'm just going to try to slam Ensnaring Bridge on turn 1 here. And then I've got Innocent Blood around Daze for Tamiyo. Okay. Do I want to play a Dazeable Hymn to Turok? I'll wait. Land drop and pass. I'll just tick this up, assuming that we get some degree of value out of it eventually. I will hymn you, fully expecting my opponent to have Orcish Bowmasters. I am correct. I'll get pinged for 1. Ooh, Tamiyo and Murktide. That's great. I think I'll just play an Innocent Blood to get a card out of my hand. Wait, oh, no, he went out. My cat Percy is hanging out in here right now. Thought he wanted to leave the room, but he instead got into the cubes, and now he is wandering around under my desk, being cute. Spellbomb is fine. I will take 1. 16. Ooh, I would like to go Hellbent. Playing this is important towards that goal. I wonder if there's a weird Karn tutor target I can play that destroys my hatchery. Opponent sacrificing the Spellbomb, and then consigns. Sure, and they did this in a way where the Karn is going to get exiled. So I need 1 more land drop here, hopefully, before my opponent doesn't get to attack with this Bowmasters anymore. Very nice. So I'll Hatchery, there goes Bowmasters. And now I just need to essentially avoid my opponent drawing Kaito and Bowmasters and Tamiyo. There's Tamiyo right on time, though. There's a factory. So hopefully Tamiyo does not transform. Opponent likes their card. Unfortunately, any cantrip here means Tamiyo Planeswalker. That cantrip makes it easier. They don't even have to spend mana on cracking the clue. And my 1/1s from Eumidian Hatchery are pretty uniquely bad versus Tamiyo. Ponder's fine. I'm gonna keep ticking this up. I can take out my opponent's graveyard in respect of Murktide Regent. I think I just hold this so I can attack with Factory for 1. Notably, if I wasn't going for Strategic Betrayal for this like graveyard hate theme that I'm going for, this would be a Shoulder's Edict that answers Tamiyo. So there's some ups and downs here. Another land drop from my opponent. There's a Goyf. I do think I'm going to keep this going up. I think I've got to believe in it. So I will Strategic Betrayal you. Good enough for a response. Could be Hardcast Force of Negation. It is. In which case I can Innocent Blood this and get that out of the way, but then this means that I'm not attacking into that Tamiyo anymore due to my own Ensnaring Bridge. Opponent just returning Force of Negation. I can't attack the Tamiyo immediately. I think I don't play that. This ensnaring bridge sub-game is not going favorably for me. MU at 5 loyalty. Yeah, and these creatures coming out is not doing me any favors. I think I'm going to stop ticking this up. Okay. Thoughtseize you, take the Force of Negation that I know about. Oh my god. Consign for Karn, and Force of Negation, and Kaito. Yikes. And Tamiyo can just minus and get back, like, Force and Consign. I have to draw hotter than the sun to win here. I think this is the point that I am comfortable conceding. GG. Okay. This is a reasonable hand for the wrong matchup. Again, I believe this is an opponent who tends to play, like, Beseech Storm type decks. The 4x Innocent Blood, maybe not ideal versus Storm. Whereas the hand with turn 2 Karn, we can fuck with that. I'm going to put a Wasteland back with this hand. I don't think I need 3 of those. Is Wasteland just better than Factory? Like, am I actually attacking my opponent? I think I just win with Karn if Karn resolves. Yeah, I think I have changed my mind. Now, a Duress or Thoughtseize effect would not be fantastic here. The Karn is kind of the one thing that I have going on. Dark Ritual. Thoughtseize. Goodbye, Dark Ritual. Does that mean I'm dying now? Maybe not dying, but opponent gets to Echo. So there's the Echo. And I'm not so much with instant speed plays here. So whatever my opponent can do, they've got it. There's a new LED, a new Entomb. So at worst, my opponent just has Echo again. That is where we're at. Well, I can make a bunch of mana and add to the storm count if I want. New LED, new other LED, from Mox. We're at lethal storm point, so opponent just needs to find a payoff card. Oh, we've got main deck Bowmasters. Sure. Combos with the Echoes to deal damage directly to face. There's an Echo, and Echo happens. I'll take a bunch of damage. Still going. Storm 17. There's a Beseech. And there's the Tendrils. Storm of 19. Opponent put in the work. GG. Duress, Surgical, Inquisition. Disruptor Flute has a bunch of different targets. It's, like, fine. I might want to play it in an Ancient Tomb deck. I'm not sure that I want to play it here. So kind of the awkward thing is that a bunch of my removal is sorcery speed rather than instant speed. And so it's not necessarily live when I want it to be. Get rid of some Innocent Bloods. Obviously not ideal, even if my opponent does have Orcish Bowmasters. And then, do I want to play Disruptor Flute? Disruptor Flute and Tormod's Crypt both technically do things. Maybe not exciting things, but things. I'm going to take Disruptor Flute. It can also do things like name Urza's Saga in a pinch if we need it to. This is fine. So I get to take something and then hopefully just play a Null Rod on turn 2. Opponent is on the full 7 cards, though. So we'll see if we can punch a hole. Aether Spellbomb. Humorously, I can't take the Beseech with this. If my opponent draws Lotus Petal, they can Beseech immediately. If they draw Echo, they could Echo immediately. So I've got reasons, I think big reasons to take LED, even though it doesn't do anything right now. I think I take LED so that my opponent cannot Echo if they draw it, even though I shut this card off on turn 2. Oh, fuck. Oh. Double fuck. I just realized I played Urborg. Dark Ritual was already online. Alright, so Rit. It doesn't matter if I take the Dark Ritual if my opponent draws the Lotus Petal anyway. But it does mean that they have more mana to work with. I suspect that I was dead either way without doing the math. Alright, we're gonna go that route. Well, that's fine. Mr. Percy. Mr. Percy, how are you doing? Hello, bud. Camera see you? If it doesn't, oh well. That was for me anyway. It was at least partially for you all. Alright, there's Bowmasters. 19. I think this is the point where I can pretty safely concede. I'm not deterministically dead there, but like Song of Creation plus Bowmasters, like this just kind of clocks me out. I think that's fine. GG's. Phil from the future here. I will not be including round 4 in this video, as it is essentially my opponent taking advantage of a Magic Online bug in an attempt to time me out. And I don't think it is a good look for content to show off bugs that are easily repeatable and can be taken advantage of by bad actors. So my round 4 opponent needed a win. They get that win in that Magic Online says that they won the game, but I very easily end up 2-1ing this match in a long, grindy game. Alright, final round here. I've got Eumidian Hatchery into Smallpox. Seems fine. And we're playing against a deck that cares about its lands. Lotus Petal is fine. Grim Monolith is scary. I don't want something to come down this turn, because I'm so prepared for every turn after turn 1. Yep. This does get my opponent to 4 mana for things like the One Ring immediately. Another Monolith is fine. Ah, shit. Smallpox in the face of the One Ring. Not great. Honestly, a lot of my deck in the face of the One Ring is not great. I think I let this tick up for another turn and just actually wasteland here. I'm going to put a counter on this just so I can F6. Be lazy. So, opponent will probably have a land drop to untap either the Ring or a Monolith here. And we're on a downhill slope now. Fence Grid I don't care about, Soul Guide I don't care about. But I'm pretty far away from beating the One Ring. I will Smallpox. I'll discard... I don't think Liliana does much here in the face of the One Ring. I'm just going to get rid of her. I'll sack my Hatchery to make some creatures that can attack. 16. Grim Monolith. Lotus Petal. A new One Ring, so I don't get damage this turn. Means my Smallpox is a little less good immediately. Means him is not live this turn. I think I'm playing Factory to attempt to attack for more damage next turn. I don't think I am going to be able to deny my opponent mana anymore. They've got 7 cards in hand, and 1 key on tap is already very, very good. There's also just like Urza's Workshop, which is going to keep scaling up. There's the scary one. And once it has a friend, Smallpox doesn't kill it anymore, which is a very big deal. That's a Karn. Am I ready to concede? Pretty close. That's Mystic Forge, which is not good for me. I can Thoughtseize it, I guess. Thoughtseizing and him into the One Ring is definitely a thing. So let's send it Karn and kill Karn. Then I think I need to play Urborg. I think I need to make sure that Thoughtseize hits a card. Okay. Well, I hit Mystic Forge. I'm glad I cast it in that order. Do I want to try to take the Urza's lands? Sure. That has some impact here. I think I can't Smallpox. I think I need my opponent to just absolutely fucking whiff this turn, and then Karn is the top card of my deck. Glaring Fleshraker means that hiding behind Ensnaring Bridge is not valid. I do not like the feel of this matchup. Monolith. The Manifold Key on tap has not been used yet. That might just happen on the One Ring for some more cards. Looks like opponent is fine on mana with 2 keys now, and Lotus Petal, Basalt, Monolith. That was an untap on something. I think that was untap on the One Ring. Cat is kind of popping off with all of these triggers. Mystic Forge. Yikes. New Defense Grid. I think my opponent safely has me from here. I am willing to concede. I'm going to bring in this Null Rod so I can draw it. Disruptor Flute is great. These are fine. I might play Surgical Extraction just to surgically extract some of my opponent's threats. Innocent Blood type removal is not really getting there versus Glaring Fleshraker, and the same is true of Strategic Betrayal. But then there's also the Spell Bombs. The Spell Bombs are worse. I'm fine with attempting to Deluge Glaring Fleshrakers. I'm fine boarding in Crucible. This is enough Arn Tutor stuff, I think. This one's going to be an uphill fight, though. My opponent has so many varied threats that I have to worry about. Okay. Damn, that's a good opening hand here. It might not be enough, but it's a damn good opening hand. So, Hatchery, Dark Ritual, Lily, Lily plus, discard more other Lily. Opponent started on 6, is now down to 5 cards. Again, we just not want them to have like the Grim Monolith start. Okay, that's not the best for me, obviously, but that's not the end of the world. Obviously names Liliana of the Veil. I will go land drop, up to 2, Smallpox. I'll discard Dark Ritual. I'll sacrifice my Hatchery. Now I have some power in play, and that amount is going to go up. Very nice. Send it. 15. Opponent does have more mana. Well, I mean, this is the plan. Factory. We do the old +1/+1 here. Send in for 3. I don't have the other black mana to Smallpox, unfortunately. So Urza Saga is live for my opponent. Mox Opal. So I can trade with an Urza Saga Construct token. This is tragic. Alright, I guess I'm just attacking in for 2. 8. Ooh, Pithing Needle is the fetch. Then opponent can make another Construct token. Send in at me for 6, and they are threatening 18 damage next turn. I don't have enough mana. I need 2 more mana to Ensnaring Bridge, but I'm not dead. So, Dark Ritual, 4 mana for Karn, Karn minus, say yes, pick up an Ensnaring Bridge, which I can't cast immediately. I will hold these back to chump Construct tokens. We could be in for a long game. But my opponent's artifacts are going to be back on, so they will probably just power through an Ensnaring Bridge eventually with a Glaring Flushraker. Alright, Soul Guide Lantern can just take a Eumidian Hatchery out of my graveyard. They chose Dark Ritual instead. I think Eumidian Hatchery is correct, because like it's pretty likely that I'm a Crucible of Worlds deck, given what my opponent has seen. I think that was just a it doesn't matter what I do click. That's a Kozilek's Command. Sure. That just means I'm dead, right? I just take 14 to the dome. These should all be attacking my face, and they are. I'll block 1 out of spite. And our opponent gets there and wins. GG. Alright. Overall thoughts on the deck list. If we count the Bug Abuser round as a win, that is a 2-3 finish for this deck, which honestly is pretty good. This deck is trying to play with an arm behind its back. Trying to do this without access to Urza's Saga is a really difficult challenge. That is sort of a self-handicap that I don't think you need to be doing while playing Pox. Like, if you are trying to play Smallpox, you are not playing anything close to a tier 1 strategy. And I think you need to take all the powerful tools that you can in order to try and make that happen. And I think Urza's Saga would be a big power-up to this deck over Mishra's Factory, even including the Ensnaring Bridge awkwardness. Maybe you don't max out on the Ensnaring Bridges anymore, but I think Urza's Saga is just so strong that it's foolish to not try to do it while playing Ox. And I mean that in a positive feedback sort of way, not a, oh, the way you built this deck was wrong sort of way. I think if you want to do a fun, slightly janky strategy, you have to inject it with as many powerful things as you can, even if that just means shoving in the, dumb, broken Somerset cards from Modern Horizons or Lord of the Rings or whatever. Having Game 1 access to Spellbomb was definitely relevant throughout the league. I don't really regret doing that. There is some awkwardness with Null Rod in post-sideboard games. I don't think that's that big of a deal. Maybe this should just be Sheoldred's Edict. Tamiyo was absolutely something that was scary, so being able to answer a Tamiyo or a Kaito or a Karn or a Tezzeret or whatever, might be relevant. I liked the Toxic Deluge. For what this is, I think this was a pretty good deck. I don't think you want to be the person trying to play a 12-turn game of Legacy, when many Legacy games are decided on turn 1 or 2 with Entomb and Reanimate, or Grim Monolith into the One Ring or whatever. But you've got Karn to hate on the artifact decks, you have Thoughtseize and Hymns and some land destruction to hate on combo. We absolutely stole some wins, but I think that's what it was. I think it was stealing wins. And we had to work pretty hard for them too. So with that, I think I'm going to call it a day here. I hope this was enjoyable despite the round 4 hiccup. Alright, have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya!